Mr. President, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, through a communication to the Senate, presented a budget of 409,883,000,000 naira only for the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, for the fiscal year 2019 as follows. Personnel expenditure, 22,338,190,000 naira. Overhead expenditure, 13,466,810,000 naira. Internal capital expenditure, 4,083,000,000 naira only. Development projects, 369,995,000,000 naira only. Total expenditure, 409,883,000,000 naira only. From the budget presented by Mr. President, the revenue sources are as follows. Revenue brought forward, 11 billion. Federal government contribution, 128,683,000,000 naira only. Federal government contribution, that is unpaid arrears by federal government, 35 billion. Oil companies' contributions and other, 230 billion. Ecological funds, 5 billion. Other internally realized income, 200 million. Total, 409,883,000,000 naira only. The committee consideration. Upon referral, the committee carried out its legislative mandate on the budget proposal and noted that the development aspect of the budget is basically a rollover of the 2018 budget, which is in furtherance of the drive to ensure completion of ongoing projects. 2. On the revenue projections of the Commission, 128,683,000,000 was stated as a statutory contribution by the federal government to the NDC. Since the proposed federal contribution for the year 2019 is higher than the amount approved by the National Assembly for the same year, the committee adopted 100,188,090,000 naira as the figure reflected in the Appropriation Act of 2019. Furthermore, the sum of 35 billion naira stated as unpaid arrears by the federal government was not considered as part of the Commission's revenue projection by the committee because the amount was not approved in the 2019 Appropriation Act by the National Assembly. 5. The Commission, in its budget performance report, disclosed an aggregate revenue inflow of 334.11 billion, representing 99% of the 2018 budget. The recorded expenditure, personnel and overhead expenditure, and internal capital of 35.07 billion, representing 99.8%, was spent, and it lapsed on December 31st, 2019. The capital expenditure, that is development projects, of 304.42 billion naira, representing 98.8%, was spent.
Point of order.
Point of order, leader.
Then I'm coming under order 3.
First, 2019, the Commission recorded 98% on its performance for 2018. 5. The Committee adopted the submission of the Commission on personnel expenditure of 22,338,000,000 naira and 190 naira only. Overhead expenditure, 13,466,810 naira only, but reduced the budget for development projects due to adjustments in the revenue profile of the Commission. Thus, development project now stands at 306,500,900,000 naira only. And the internal capital 4,803,000,000 naira only. The total budget for 2019 is therefore 346,388,900,000 naira only. The Senate Committee on Niger Delta and the House of Representatives Committee on NDDC unanimously resolved to recommend that the lifespan of the budget be extended to enable the Commission to achieve its implementation. Accordingly, the 2019 NDDC budget is recommended to elapse on 31st May 2020. Recommendation. In view of the foregoing, the committee recommends as follows: that the revenue profile of the Commission for the year 2019 as follows: revenue brought forward 11 billion, federal government contribution 100,188,900,000 naira only. Federal government contribution on paid arrears by federal government 0. Oil companies contribution and Nigerian liquefied natural gas limited and others 230 billion. Ecological funds 5 billion. Other internet realized income 200 million. Total revenue 346,388,900,000 naira only. The committee considered increase in personnel costs and also considered the overhead costs and internal capital estimate, as well as adjustment in the revenue profile of the Commission, and consequently recommends the following as the expenditure profile: personnel costs 22,338,190,000 naira only. Overhead costs 13,466,810,000 naira only. Internal capital expenditure 4,083,000 naira only. Development project 306,500,090 naira only. The total expenditure 346,388,900,000 naira only. That the lifespan of the 2019 NDC budget will lapse on the 31st May 2020. Prayers. That the Senate do consider and approve the 2019 budget proposal for the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) in the sum of 346,388,900,000 naira only, as recommended by the committee. I so move.
Representing Lagos West in the Senate of the Federal Republic. Mr. President, I try as much as possible to listen to the chairman of NDDC. My observation goes thus. Number one, Mr. President, we're in 2020. The federal government has passed 2020 Appropriation Act into law. This is 2019 budget. And if you look at this document, it's soliciting for the fund contribution of the federal government is about 128 billion naira. And now, we have returned government to January to December in terms of revenue and everything. Is it that the revenue that will be released to NDDC, which period is it going to cover? By now, I believe what we should have before us should be 2020 appropriation bill of the NDDC. I stand to be corrected. That is one. Number two, in the revenue profile, as explicitly stated here, I noticed that what was put forward before the National Assembly is 409 billion naira. But the committee, in their own judgment, after consideration of this document, reduced the budget to 346 billion. But what is of interest to me is this. There is federal government arrears to the tune of 35 billion, which these agencies is expecting that during the course of the year, the government will pay this money to them. The committee remove it and put zero. The question now is this. If the government peradventure now paid anything to them, under what particular heading are they going to cover it? Since there have been no provision already made, even though the federal government themselves put this provision forward, but the committee returned it to zero. I don't know. Number 4, the committee also only give us a one-line explanation for the performance of 2018 budget. There is no other information except that the 2018 budget performed 95% of budget performance in 2018. The question is this, sir. With all the issues surrounding NDDC within the last couple of months, I believe we should have a detailed performance of all of this in line with the kind of debt profile they have put forward in this particular organization in terms of amount being owed contractors. All these are not here. I want the chairman to please expatiate more concerning this particular important document which is soliciting our approval, so that we can be well guided. So by the time we now give approval for the budget of NDDC, we will have done justice to 1, the performance of 2018 budget. 2, the inconsistency in the budget being presented before us, that is 2019 when we're in 2020. 3, the area of revenue as reported by the report given by the federal government and reported by the committee. And 4, other sundry issues that contained in this document that beg for explanation. I so submit, Mr. President.
Chairman.
Issues one by one. First, the budget of NDDC 2019 and 2020 were presented late last year. And we all are aware of the issues here. When the Senate did decide that we will not have anything to do with an interim management. And that was the position of the National Assembly, not only the Senate. And that was why the budget for 2019 was not defended by anybody, both from the interim management. Now that the Senate came back from the holidays and decided that, yes, we will now deal, based on the letter from Mr. President, the interim management now came and defended their budget this year. And what we have now is a product of the defense from the interim management. The budget was presented late, about December last year, both 2019 and the 2020 budget. Mr. President, there are also expenditures in the recurrent expenditures in the 2019 budget who has to be covered. Because even though the budget expired in July, there were some recurrent expenditures. That is as far as that is concerned. So if now on the issue of the 35 billion, I'm already surprised that the chairman finance, because he knows we are operating on zero. And we cannot have a carryover. So it's stated here, we are operating on a zero budget, and therefore there is no provision for carryover on the zero budget issue. So that is as far as that is concerned. Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, the third issue, if I remember, was the issue of what's that? Funding 2020 to 2019. What? Funding 2019 to 2020. Yeah. Now, the third issue is the issue of the funding of the 2019 to 2020. That is why we said that this budget will expire on the 31st of May. That's just a month. So, a month to enable us bring the 2020 budget. We cannot go to 2020 budget without approving the 2019 budget. And that is the position.
Senator Albert Basakpan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The issue that was raised by the Chairman Finance Committee is how do you expect NDDC to earn from federal government's 2020 budget allocation in NDDC 2019? It's a legal issue. So unless the chairman is going to convince the chamber that he's already processing NDDC's 2020 budget, outside that, I don't think they can earn anything from it, because the federal government is running a 2020 budget, and they are still on 2019 budget in 2020. I don't think it's
Mr. Chairman.
What we are processing is 2019. And we are not asking for expenditure in 2020 budget. Can you please read the document very well?
In 2019's budget, there is a federal government contribution to NDDC. Yes, but that federal government budget has since lapsed. 2019 budget has lapsed.
Okay. You see, Chairman, the 2019 budget, as far as the federal government of Nigeria is concerned, doesn't exist. We have been able to go back to January to December. So any funds for NDDC will be for 2020 budget and not 2019. So that means this budget will not contain the federal government contribution, because there isn't in our budget for 2019. What is there is for 2020. Does that capture your thinking?
Can you please, if you can, I read for you. Can you, in the 2019 Appropriation Act, please can you read it? What is captured in 2019 Appropriation Card? We have not read the 2020 Appropriation Act. Can you read it? Can you go through it?
And the issue, I'm coming, sir. Mr. President, the issue here is this. This document is for 2019. 2019 have expired. Sir, any money federal government is drawing down from now to give to NDDC is 2020. What I expect the chairman to do now is to come up with 2020 budget. This budget should cease to exist and come up with 2020 budget so that it can regularize the accounting year of NDDC to fit into the federal government. Because what you are telling us now, if this document expires by May, when you are bringing 2020 again, it will expire May 2021. That is what you are saying. And then you are defeating the purpose of trying to align. And what we are saying is this. Because federal government is not going to have any revenue that will extend beyond December 2020. They will not have. So that's what we're trying to say.
Senator Aleru.
Usually, NDDC budget is submitted late. At all times. In fact, from 2007 up to 2020, NDDC budget has always been submitted 6 months late. So it is not unusual for this kind of practice. And usually the contribution of federal government always come also late. In fact, they have accumulated arrears at times up to about 2-3 years. And the NDDC has been following the Ministry of Finance to get the arrears contribution of the federal government. And they don't get it in time. So I believe we should tell the NDDC to be submitting their budget early enough, just like what the federal government has done, so that the budget cycle will run from January to December. This one should be accepted as it is, but hold on, this one should be accepted as it is because they have already started implementing it. Yes, this one should go as it is. The NDDC has already started implementing the budget without even the approval of the National Assembly. So I do submit, Mr. President.
Chief Whip. Leader.
Mr. Peter Nwaoboshi is quite aware of that. I was in the committee in the 8th Senate, and all the issues that were done with them. I also appreciate a lot of the issues that have been raised by the single Senator Adeola. Now, like it said, like also Senator Olamilekan said, the Niger Delta budget has always had this particular kind of peculiarity. And this peculiarity has now been caught up by the attempts or by the successful attempt of this distinguished Senate and the National Assembly to streamline the federal budget. Before, when we were doing things in the wrong way, we were also admitting things which were being done wrongly. You can recall, Mr. Chairman, that in the committee of the 8th Senate, I know a lot of work that you did to even secure the constitutional funding under its act, the legal funding that should go to NDDC, from both the federal government and the oil industry. A lot of resources were garnered in that process. So we have not been able to really, bring the budget of the NDDC in line with the normal financial year. But I now think that we have to now arrive at this kind of harmonization. So, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, at the risk of whatever kind of financial issues that may arise, I think it's now time for us to harmonize, to really harmonize the budget of the NDDC with the budget of the federal government. Exactly. So that all these kinds of inanities and the confusion will disappear. So what I would suggest is for the committee of Niger Delta to go back and look into all the submissions that have been made by the Commission and look at both the revenue and the expenditure side and come up with a new proposal on the 2020 budget of the NDDC. Whatever resources that have not been captured hitherto should be included in this all-inclusive budget so that from now on we harmonize the NDDC budget with that of the federal government so that this Senate is well guided by the way in which both revenue and expenditure side of the budget is treated. So I propose, Mr. President, that I think this particular presentation should be stood down and we give the committee about a week to go back and do this and make a presentation of the 20th budget for us to consider.
Yes, as brought by might not be good for the NDDC and their partners. So I think what we should do is for him to go back to the drawing board, redo it and merge it and bring it in 2020, so that it can be captured under 2020 budget. I think this is our one win-win situation in this case.
It can be in tandem with the national budget. So that the issue of budget defense and all of that, for budget performance for 2019 and all, we just wanted to single this one out first. So having to go back and bring that one again, I think it's like taking us back. I wanted us to make some advancement on the 2019, so that it's off the way. Because 2019 is virtually passed. So if the Senate approves that, we put that on our side, then we now take the 2020. Now it will be in tandem with our national budget. I think that.
You see, the challenge here, the federal budget. So I am disposed to the submissions by the distinguished senators. Okay, you have an explanation? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
and very untidy the budget processing and implementation that could maybe be completed in June of every year. We finish in December. And in fact, the implementation of the budget has already started for 2020. Now, nobody is saying the expenditures and card should be just discarded and we walk away from those. It's not right. But what I think the senators who argued may mean is that we merge the projects in the 2019 that we have captured with the 2020, you roll them over, just like the federal government did, because the federal government rolled about 60% of the 2019 budget into the 2020 when they submitted. So is it not possible for us to do that so that the NDDC budget is aligned with the federal government budget? And instead of starting 2020 budget of NDDC in June this year, we should start it with this one.
Mr. President, I agree completely with you on the road.
To legitimize the expenditures. And then when you come for your 2020, you roll over. If it is the will of I think we should take it. Yeah, Senator Albert. that the Senate do consider and approve the 2019 budget proposal for the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, in the sum of 340,388,900,000 naira, only as recommended by the committee. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, on behalf of all of us, I will urge the NDDC committee to go and work on the 2020 budget in not more than 2 weeks, so that we pass it in good time, and you have listened to the various contributions, that you roll over those projects that are so essential in the 2019 budget. But I want to also emphasize that at no time should NDDC or indeed any agency of government bring its budget here later than September, when we receive the proposal from Mr. President for the federal budget. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, 2020. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on 27th of February 2020.
We expect that copies will be distributed to all the senators between today and tomorrow, so that we're able to read at the weekend, and then by Tuesday, that will be our major work, really. You recall that the Kama amendment bill is being seriously awaited by all of us in this country. Presently, we are number 131 in the ranking of ease of doing business in the world. If we pass the Kama bill and the President signs, we'll be catapulting to be within the first 100. That means we'll jump about 35 positions to be a better country for ease of doing business. So this is a very important bill for all of us. And of course, in the last Senate, all the processes were conducted on this bill, so there will be no need for us to waste too much time on it. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.